How's it going, everybody? Aaron Siegfried's Motorworks here today, taking you out on a test ride video of the latest unit that we have in stock, 2009 Hyosung GT250R. This is an entry-level street bike, great commuter bike, whatever you're looking for. What's that? Also has a key. Everyone say hi to Kyle Huber. He's the man typically behind the camera. Kyle, say hi to YouTube. Say it to their face. Hi, YouTube. Alright, but at any rate, 2009 Hyosung GT250R. V-twin 249cc motor, but we'll go over all that while we take you guys out on this one. But at any rate, let's get this ride video started. Don't pay attention to that RPM gauge because it acts funky. Not really sure what the deal with that is yet. We're going to address that here briefly, but at least it is still for sale. Because there's no way it's tacking 6,500 RPM right now. It is a carbureted bike, so that's why it does have a choke there. But anyways, let's show you what this one's all about. While we head out the driveway here, here's a couple of quick facts about the Hyosung GT250R, 249cc V-twin. That's actually a pretty uncommon thing for this 250cc to even the 400cc class. Typically, you're going to see a parallel twin, or you're going to see a inline four. 28.8 horsepower, 370-pound wet weight. 30.7 inch seat height, a 4.49 gallon fuel tank, a 249cc motor with a 4.49 gallon fuel tank means this thing's got range for days. Again, it is a carbureted model. It is a 6-speed also. Couple of little quirky facts about this thing. The Hyosung actually approached a Japanese design team to produce these bikes, or at least design these bikes. That's the same design team that had a part in many of Suzuki's GSX-R models as well. So this is while it is not a Suzuki bike, it has a lot of the same kind of design cues that come on Suzuki. But yeah, anyways, there's a couple things that you need to keep in mind if you're looking at one of these bikes. These are an entry-level sport bike, and one of the big things that I like that Hyosung did, specifically in comparison to the offerings from Honda with their 250s little entry-level sport bike, and also the Ninja. Be it the 250, the 300, the 400, any of those entry-level Ninjas, the seating position is going to be something that it's a very approachable seating position, and new riders should find themselves pretty comfortable on it. But if you have intentions on upgrading to a super sport, being a 600RR, a 750RR, even a leader bike, after you get your feet wet with the motorcycle world on the Hyosung, one thing that really makes the Hyosung nice is the fact that this seating position is so similar to super sports. So when you do make that transition, you're not going to have to sort of relearn the ergonomics of the bike. You're already going to be trained to be really far pegged over on it, low clip-ons, and also a higher rear set for the rider. So that is a nice feature that I do like about it. It's a little bit cumbersome just because I'm not really that used to riding super sports here lately. We primarily focus on cruisers and scooters, so it's a little bit uncomfortable for me. But back when I used to ride sport bikes, I would have been real at home on this thing as far as the seating position goes. As far as the riding of this thing and the rideability, I mean, this thing does have pretty decent suspension on it. It's not going to be necessarily track ready. You would have to do a little bit of work to get these things onto the track. But it rides down the road really nicely. In addition to that, too, power-wise, with this thing being a V-twin over a parallel twin or even an inline four, the big benefit that you're going to see out of that is it's a lot more usable power. when you're riding any of the other offerings from other bikes, your power is only coming in towards the upper half of the RPM. Now this RPM gauge is funky, so we can't really show where you're at. But again, that power is not going to come in until midway through or even more on the power band, on the RPMs. With this thing being a V-twin, your power is going to come in a lot sooner, which when you're riding something on the street, it makes it a lot more fun to ride, because typically that's where you're going to be using your bike, in the lower RPM range. So with it being carbureted, there is a stigma against carbureted bikes, that they're harder to work on or that they're harder to maintain. It's really not true. Or that they're less reliable, I guess would be the better term for it. That's really not true. The biggest thing you have to remember with a carbureted bike is, if you're not going to be riding the bike and you're going to let it sit for weeks or even months at a time, you do have to drain the carburetor's fuel bowl out of it. It's not a hard process. There's a simple little flathead screw. You just turn it, the fuel drains out, comes out of the bottom of the fairings. There's a hose that it leads down to. So it's not a hard process to do, but it is something you need to keep in mind that you do need to do if you're going to be letting the bike sit for extended periods of time. Specifically, like where we're from in Pennsylvania, most bikes sit over wintertime. When you're looking at the GT250R by Hyosung, aesthetically, this is a really good looking bike in my opinion. It does not look like a 250. It almost has that European, I'm actually going to pop off here quick just to talk about that so you can see exactly what I mean. It almost has a European look to the front end, similar to like a Ducati or an Aprilia. It's kind of cool. It doesn't follow the typical Japanese, you know, recipe for how to make a sport bike, which is kind of neat. But at any rate, we're going to give you guys a little 0 to 60 here just so you can see what it's all about. A little slow on the takeoff there.
Randy should be not double clutching like you should.
Not bad. I don't know what they claim it for from the factory, but it gets out of its own way. So another reason I do like the Hyosung GT250R that I'm riding here for beginners is just for the fact that this thing is going to take handling really nicely, you know, on the turn. You know, any kind of street style riding, this thing's really going to shine there. On the way back in here, we're just about back in the shop now. As we're going through the controls on this one, these are conventional sport bike style controls and also conventional sport bike style shifting. First gear down, the rest of the gears are up. This is a 6-speed transmission, so the other 5 gears are up. On any carbureted bike, your choke is going to be here. On a sport bike, high beam, low beam, it also does have a passing function. Turn signal, horn, kill switch, and all that other fun stuff there. All in all, I think it depends on what you can buy these things for. If you're looking at a Hyosung GT250R that has the same miles on it as, say, a Ninja 250 or, you know, a Ninja 300 or a CBR 250, I would probably take one of those other bikes over the Hyosung just for the fact of the resale value. If you're going to crank miles on it, it's probably going to be a little bit better just because these things aren't well known. But they're definitely making their way through the motorcycle world right now, and they're beginning to get a name for themselves just because they are a pretty fun bike to ride for entry-level riders. And you know, they're typically fairly cheap. A lot of times you can pick these things up for, you know, pretty good money, with, you know, pretty decent money with nice miles on them. This one we put on our website, it had 220 miles on it. We put it on our website for $2,400. So we don't anticipate it to last long just because it is such a good looking bike. And for whatever reason this time of year, or not whatever reason this year, entry-level small cc bikes have just been taking off. Like, it's crazy how fast they're selling. So you know, how long this one will last, we're not sure. But as we pull back into the shop here, if you made it this far with me, thank you so much for watching. If you can, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You stay up to date with everything going on here at Siegfried's Motorworks. And as always, if you can, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this retail red little Hyosung GT250R. And as always, have a great rest of your day.